The Dream in Shadows. Chapter 1. A Spark in the Darkness. In a small, unassuming town nestled in the heart of the American South, a young black man named Robert Turner cradled his guitar as he sat on the edge of his bed, surrounded by the remnants of dreams and aspirations that once felt as tangible as the strings he plucked. Robert's journey began in a town where the echoes of history were often drowned out by the laughter of the present, a place where he was one of the few black faces amidst a sea of white. It was a setting that often made him feel like an outsider, but music had always been his refuge, his sanctuary, where the color of his skin faded away, leaving only the raw emotion of sound. Every evening, Robert would immerse himself in melodies, his fingers dancing over the worn strings of his guitar, the soft twang of country music filling the air with warmth and nostalgia. The melodies were like whispers from the past, reminding him of the legends he had grown up admiring. Most notably, Charlie Pride, the first black man to break into the country music scene, and a beacon of hope for Robert. The posters adorning his walls were not merely decorations, they were symbols of possibility. Every strum, every chord, was a step closer to realizing his own dreams. Someday, he would often whisper to himself, "I will play in front of thousands." But as the festival loomed just a week away, uncertainty crept into his heart like a thief in the night. Would the audience embrace him or laugh him off stage? Would they see him for his talent or merely as the color of his skin? Chapter 2. The Anticipation and Doubts. The anticipation in the air was palpable as the annual music festival approached, a highlight of the town's social calendar. People buzzed with excitement, eagerly discussing who would perform and what food would be available. For Robert, however, the excitement was a double-edged sword. He spent sleepless nights practicing, pouring his heart and soul into every note, each lyric an expression of his hopes and fears. Yet, as the festival date drew near, the laughter of the past haunted him. The echoes of ridicule played in his mind like a cruel soundtrack, pushing him closer to the edge of despair. On the morning of the festival, Robert stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the cowboy hat that sat atop his head, a symbol of his identity as an aspiring country artist. The reflection staring back at him was a blend of confidence and trepidation. "It's not about what they see," he reminded himself, a mantra he had repeated countless times. "It's about what they hear." He gripped his guitar, its weight both familiar and daunting, and steeled his resolve. As he stepped onto the makeshift stage, the crowd's chatter was a symphony of excitement, but Robert's heart raced with uncertainty. He felt the lights wash over him, momentarily blinding him as he searched the sea of faces, hoping to find some semblance of acceptance. Would they be kind? Would they be curious? Or would they echo the laughter he had come to dread? Chapter 3. The Performance and the Backlash. With shaky fingers, he introduced himself to the audience, a mix of warmth and vulnerability in his voice. The first notes of his favorite song rang out, and for a brief moment, he felt their skepticism melt away. People began to sway, some even tapping their feet, a sign that they were tuning into his music. Hope surged within him, a fragile flame ignited amidst the shadows of doubt. But just as quickly as the spark ignited, the laughter began to rise. Confused looks morphed into frowns, and whispers cut through the melody like knives. The laughter crescendoed, a wave of mockery crashing over him, drowning out his music and pulling him under. "Is that a black guy playing country?" echoed one voice, and with that, the laughter multiplied, spiraling into a cacophony of ridicule. Robert's heart plummeted as jeers filled the air, stinging like wasps on his skin. With each taunt, his fingers fumbled, missing notes and chords that had once flowed seamlessly. The lyrics that had felt so powerful moments before twisted into foreign words on his tongue. Sweat beaded on his forehead, blurring his vision as tears threatened to spill. He was acutely aware of every pair of eyes on him, judging and laughing, a public spectacle of humiliation. The once inviting stage now felt like a prison. He could barely hear the music, drowned out by the growing tide of mockery. Robert's voice cracked under the pressure, each note a struggle as he fought to remain composed. But it was a losing battle. The weight of their laughter was unbearable. As the final chord faltered, he made a decision that would haunt him for years to come. He stopped playing. The abrupt silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by the lingering taunts that echoed in his mind. With trembling hands, he mumbled a hasty thank you, his heart shattering with every step as he retreated from the stage. Chapter 4. The Aftermath. In the moments that followed, Robert stood backstage, his heart heavy with despair. The festival organizers' apologetic words echoed in his ears, promising that real country music would follow his performance. Each word felt like salt in a fresh wound. Robert leaned against the cool, hard wall, his guitar suddenly feeling like a burden he no longer wanted to bear. The reality of the moment hit him like a tidal wave. All the hopes and dreams he had nurtured seemed to disintegrate in an instant. His passion for music had brought him to this moment, but the laughter and scorn had extinguished the flame. Tears streamed down his face as he slumped to the ground, burying his head in his hands. "What was I thinking?" he muttered, the weight of self-doubt threatening to swallow him whole. A black man playing country. I'm such a fool. The thoughts spiraled, drowning out the glimmers of hope he had clung to for so long. All the hours of practice, the dreams of performing in front of thousands, felt futile now. With trembling hands, he packed away his guitar, the click of the case echoing like a final farewell to his dreams. But as he turned to leave, a gentle voice called out to him, breaking through the storm of despair. "Excuse me, young man," the voice said. Robert looked up, startled. An older gentleman approached, his warm smile a stark contrast to the harsh laughter that still echoed in Robert's mind. "I couldn't help but notice your performance out there." Chapter 5. A Glimmer of Hope. Robert braced himself for more criticism, expecting the worst. "Look, sir, I know I messed up. You don't need to tell me how bad it was." To his surprise, the man shook his head, his expression serious but compassionate. "No, son. What I saw out there was raw talent. Those people, they don't know what they're missing." Robert blinked in disbelief. "You liked it? Liked it? Young man, I've been in the music industry for decades and I know potential when I see it." The man introduced himself as Henry Caldwell, a retired music producer. "What's your name?" "Robert Turner, sir." Henry nodded thoughtfully, a gleam of recognition in his eyes. "Well, Robert, I'd like to make you an offer. I used to be a music producer, and I'm willing to mentor you." Robert's heart skipped a beat, hope flickering in the darkness. Could this be real? After everything he had just endured, could he dare to hope again? "I don't know, sir," Robert said, his voice barely above a whisper. "After what just happened, I'm not sure I'm cut out for this." Henry placed a reassuring hand on Robert's shoulder, grounding him amidst the chaos of his emotions. "What happened out there was a tragedy, but it doesn't have to be the end of your story. I believe in your talent, and I'd like to help you develop it. What do you say?" Chapter 6. The Choice to Rise. Robert stared at Henry, his heart torn between the remnants of fear and the burgeoning hope ignited by the older man's words. The sting of the crowd's jeers echoed in his ears, but so did the warmth of the music that had always been a part of him. Was this the moment he had been waiting for? Taking a deep breath, he found the courage to respond. I'd like that, sir." The words came out stronger than he felt, the first step toward reclaiming his dreams. "Good," Henry smiled. "Let's get to work, Robert. There's a lot of potential in you, and it's time to show the world what you're made of." With that, Robert's journey was set in motion. The road ahead would be paved with challenges and triumphs, laughter and tears, but he was determined to rise. He would transform the pain of that day into a powerful force propelling him forward. As he packed his guitar and walked away from the festival grounds, he felt lighter. The laughter that had once threatened to drown him began to fade, replaced by the sound of possibility. Robert Turner was ready to take on the world, one note at a time, and he wouldn't let anyone silence his music again. Finding his voice. Chapter 1. The mentorship begins. The days following the festival blurred together as Robert Turner stepped into a new chapter of his life. After that fateful encounter with Henry Caldwell, the retired music producer, Robert felt an unfamiliar mix of hope and anxiety. He couldn't shake off the feeling of impending doom that lingered after the humiliating performance. Despite the warm words of encouragement, the laughter still echoed in his mind like a haunting refrain. Henry arranged their first meeting in a small studio tucked away in a neighborhood known for its thriving arts community. The walls were lined with gold records and photographs of artists who had once stood in the same space, dreams sparkling in their eyes. Robert walked in, his heart racing, feeling both excited and apprehensive. Would he measure up to the talent that had graced these very walls? "Welcome, Robert," Henry greeted, his voice warm and inviting. "This is your space now. Let's turn that pain into something powerful." Robert took a deep breath, letting the scent of polished wood and soundproofing foam calm his nerves. The studio was a sanctuary, filled with the promise of creativity. Henry gestured for Robert to sit down. "Tell me about your vision. What do you want to say through your music?" Robert hesitated, unsure how to articulate the swirling emotions within him. "I want to tell stories," he finally replied, the words spilling out as he opened up. "Stories of love, heartbreak, and resilience. I want people to feel what I feel." "Then that's where we'll start," Henry said, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Your music has to be authentic. Let's dive into your songwriting. What do you have for me?" Robert took a deep breath, reaching for his guitar. He began to play a song he had written, a piece inspired by his experiences growing up, intertwined with the struggles and joys of chasing his dreams. As he strummed the chords, the familiar notes began to wash over him, grounding him in a moment of clarity. Chapter 2. The Power of Vulnerability. The room filled with the rich sounds of Robert's soulful melody, and for the first time since the festival, he felt a flicker of confidence ignite within him. But as he sang the lyrics, the laughter from the crowd that day surged back to the forefront of his mind. Robert could feel the weight of their ridicule creeping in, threatening to extinguish the flame he had just rekindled. "Stop," Henry interrupted gently, noticing Robert's faltering spirit. "Sing it again, but this time I want you to embrace every emotion, every painful moment and joyful memory. Let it all out. That's where the magic lies." Taking a deep breath, Robert closed his eyes and let the music take him away. He poured his heart into the performance, transforming his vulnerability into power. As he sang about the pain of rejection, the sting of ridicule, and the unyielding hope that had driven him to pursue music, he felt the weight of the world lift. With each note, the laughter faded into the background, replaced by the rhythm of his heart beating in sync with the music. When he finished, Robert opened his eyes to find Henry nodding appreciatively, a wide smile on his face. "That was it," Henry said, excitement lacing his voice. "That's what I'm talking about. You have a gift for storytelling. Robert, let's refine it." The relief and exhilaration coursing through Robert were intoxicating. They spent the next few hours working on the song, honing the lyrics and structure until it became a reflection of Robert's truth. This was just the beginning, and for the first time in a long while, he felt as if he were on the right path. Chapter 3. The Struggles of an Artist. Days turned into weeks as Robert began to find his footing in the studio. Henry introduced him to various musicians, each with their unique styles and stories. They came from diverse backgrounds, but their shared passion for music forged an unbreakable bond between them. Robert learned to collaborate, share ideas, and even critique others, skills that would be crucial in the industry. However, the journey was not without its hurdles. Robert faced the ongoing challenges of being a black man in a predominantly white genre. Each day, the shadows of doubt would creep back in, and he often questioned if he truly belonged in the country music scene. During one particular session, Robert played a new song that touched on the theme of identity. As he sang about the struggle for acceptance and belonging, he noticed the discomfort on some of the faces around him. A few musicians exchanged glances, and the air in the room felt thick with unspoken judgments. After the session, one musician approached Robert, a well-known artist with a reputation for being brutally honest. "Listen, man," he said, crossing his arms. "You've got talent, no doubt. But are you sure you want to pursue country? You know it's not exactly welcoming to people like us." Robert felt a lump form in his throat. "What do you mean, people like us?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "You know, people of color. Country is just not built for that. You might be better off trying something else." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. Robert managed a weak smile, but felt the weight of the world descend upon him once again. After the encounter, he found a quiet corner in the studio and took a moment to breathe. The laughter from the festival and the doubts of others swirled around him like a storm, threatening to consume the fragile hope he had begun to build. Chapter 4. Reclaiming his narrative. That evening, Robert returned home and grabbed his guitar, the familiar weight offering him comfort. He strummed a few chords, allowing his emotions to flow freely. His fingers moved instinctively, weaving melodies that echoed the pain he felt in his heart. He began to write, pouring his soul into the lyrics. With each stroke of the pen, he reclaimed his narrative. The song was raw and unfiltered, addressing not only the struggles he faced, but also the resilience that had propelled him forward. It was a powerful declaration that he would not be silenced or pushed aside. The next day at the studio, he shared the new song with Henry and the others. As he played, he noticed a shift in the atmosphere. Instead of judgment, there was a sense of respect and understanding. Robert's voice rang out with conviction, and when he finished, the room erupted into applause. "That was incredible," Henry exclaimed, a look of pride in his eyes. "You've found your voice, Robert. This is the kind of music that can resonate with so many." Emboldened by their reaction, Robert felt a renewed sense of purpose. He began to understand that his identity was not a barrier. It was a unique aspect of his artistry that could create a powerful impact. He wanted to show the world that country music could be diverse, reflecting the richness of all experiences. Chapter 5. The first steps into the spotlight. As Robert continued to hone his craft, Henry secured him a slot at a local open mic night, a small yet significant opportunity for exposure. The venue was known for showcasing up-and-coming artists, but Robert felt a mix of excitement and dread as the date approached. Would the crowd embrace him, or would they once again cast him aside? On the night of the performance, Robert arrived early to soak in the atmosphere. The room buzzed with energy, filled with musicians and fans eager for a night of music. As he watched others perform, he felt a sense of camaraderie among the artists. They shared the same hopes and dreams, and their struggles echoed his own. When it was finally his turn to take the stage, Robert felt the familiar anxiety creeping back in. But as he gripped the microphone and gazed out at the audience, he remembered the encouragement from Henry and the words of his peers. This was his chance to shine. "Hey, everyone. I'm Robert Turner, and I'm excited to share a song I wrote about finding your voice in a world that often tries to silence you," he said, his voice steady despite the racing heartbeat in his chest. As he began to play, the notes filled the room, and Robert lost himself in the music. He sang about his struggles, his dreams, and the determination to rise above adversity. With every lyric, he poured his heart out, and as the final chord resonated in the air, the crowd erupted into applause. The energy in the room was electric. For the first time, Robert felt the acceptance he had yearned for. People were standing, cheering, and calling out his name. In that moment, the laughter and ridicule faded away, replaced by the sound of appreciation. Chapter 6. A new chapter unfolds. After the performance, several audience members approached him with words of encouragement. "You have an incredible voice," one woman exclaimed. "You should be performing more often." Robert's heart swelled with gratitude. In the span of a single night, he felt as though he had shifted from being the underdog to a rising star. Henry beamed with pride as he patted Robert on the back. "You've taken a huge step forward, my friend. This is just the beginning." Inspired by the support and enthusiasm from the audience, Robert continued to perform at open mic nights, gradually building a following. Each performance was a step closer to his dream, and he began to connect with others who appreciated his unique blend of country music infused with soulful narratives. In the following months, Robert collaborated with various musicians, expanding his sound while remaining true to his roots. He learned to embrace the richness of his experiences and how they could shape his artistry. As he continued to grow, Robert made it a point to share his journey with others, becoming an advocate for inclusivity in the music industry. He began participating in panels and discussions, emphasizing the importance of representation and the value of diverse voices within country music. With every note he played and every story he shared, Robert was transforming not only his career, but also the landscape of the genre he loved. He was no longer just a black man trying to fit into country music. He was a trailblazer, paving the way for others to follow. And as he continued to rise, the laughter from that fateful day slowly turned into applause, echoing in the hearts of those who believed in him. Robert Turner was no longer defined by the ridicule of the past. He was a beacon of hope, resilience, and the unwavering belief that dreams could be realized, no matter the odds. The Road to Stardom. Chapter 1. Building a Brand. The buzz from his recent performances at open mic nights continued to propel Robert forward. It was a whirlwind of excitement and opportunities that felt surreal. With the encouragement of Henry and the positive feedback from the audience, Robert began to think seriously about his music career as more than just a dream. It was becoming a reality. Henry, ever the mentor, encouraged Robert to start building his brand. "You need to create a presence, both on and off the stage. Let people see who you are and what you stand for," he advised. They discussed the importance of social media and how it could be a powerful tool for an emerging artist. With a mix of apprehension and excitement, Robert set up profiles on various platforms. He posted videos of his performances, snippets of his songwriting process, and even behind-the-scenes moments with Henry and other musicians. To his surprise, his authenticity began to resonate with people. As the follower count on his social media accounts climbed, Robert realized he could use this platform to share his journey. He began to talk openly about the challenges he faced as a black artist in country music, addressing the stereotypes and biases that still lingered in the industry. Each post served as a reminder of his mission: to pave the way for inclusivity in a genre that had often marginalized voices like his. Chapter 2. The First Album. Encouraged by the growing support, Henry suggested that it was time to start working on Robert's first album. "Let's capture your journey, your sound, and the stories that make you who you are," he said. The idea thrilled Robert, but he also felt a wave of pressure wash over him. How could he possibly encapsulate everything he had experienced in just a few songs? As they began to work on the album, Robert poured his heart and soul into every track. Each song reflected a different facet of his journey: moments of doubt, joy, and resilience. With Henry's guidance, he collaborated with seasoned musicians and producers, blending their expertise with his unique style. The creative process was exhilarating yet grueling. Robert faced moments of self-doubt as he revisited the painful memories that inspired some of his lyrics. One day, as they were working on a particularly personal song about the festival incident, Robert felt the familiar sting of shame and anger wash over him. "I can't do this," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't want to relive that moment." Henry paused and placed a comforting hand on Robert's shoulder. "You have to. It's part of your story. But remember, you are not that person anymore. You've grown. Use that experience to fuel your art. Turn that pain into power." With Henry's encouragement, Robert decided to dig deep. He channeled the hurt into a poignant ballad that became the album's centerpiece. The song transformed into an anthem of resilience, telling the story of how he had turned ridicule into determination. Chapter 3. The Launch Party. After months of hard work, the album was finally complete. The momentous occasion called for a launch party, and Henry suggested they hold it at the same venue where Robert had first performed. "It's a way to come full circle," he said. "Show them how far you've come." As the date approached, Robert felt a whirlwind of emotions. The launch party would be a celebration, but it was also a chance to confront the past that had once held him back. With a mix of excitement and anxiety, he prepared for the event, hoping that the crowd would embrace his music. On the night of the launch, the venue buzzed with anticipation. Friends, family, fellow musicians, and new fans gathered, filling the room with laughter and chatter. Robert arrived early, soaking in the atmosphere. He had transformed from a hesitant performer to a confident artist, ready to share his truth. As the lights dimmed, he took the stage, his heart racing with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began, his voice steady. "This album is a collection of stories, a journey through my life, and it wouldn't be possible without your support." With that, he launched into his first song, a lively track that had the audience tapping their feet and swaying. As he performed, he could see the smiles on their faces and the energy in the room surge. Each note felt like a celebration of everything he had fought for. Every ounce of pain transformed into joy. When he reached the centerpiece ballad, he paused for a moment. "This next song is about embracing who you are and turning pain into power," he said, his voice filled with emotion. As he sang, the room fell silent, captivated by the raw honesty of his lyrics. After the final note resonated in the air, the audience erupted into applause. Cheers and shouts of encouragement filled the venue. Robert felt tears of gratitude prick at the corners of his eyes. This was what he had fought for, a moment of acceptance and celebration. Chapter 4. Unexpected Challenges. The success of the album launch propelled Robert into the spotlight, and soon he was approached for various interviews and performances. With newfound visibility came opportunities he had only dreamed of, including invitations to perform at regional festivals and music events. Yet, with each opportunity came new challenges. One afternoon, while preparing for a radio interview, Robert received a call from a producer about a national music competition. "It's a big deal, Robert," the producer said excitedly. "This could catapult your career. Think of the exposure and opportunities that could come from it." Excitement bubbled within him, but so did apprehension. The thought of a competition meant facing not only fellow musicians, but also the scrutiny of judges and viewers who might not understand his style. Nevertheless, with Henry's encouragement, Robert decided to audition, convinced that this could be a pivotal moment for his career. As he prepared for the competition, Robert faced a slew of challenges. The pressure intensified, and he found himself doubting whether he could measure up to the expectations of a national audience. Compounding his fears were the negative comments he occasionally received online, reminders that not everyone embraced his presence in the country music scene. On the day of the audition, Robert felt a knot in his stomach. "You've got this," Henry reassured him before they entered the venue. "Just remember why you're doing this. Let your passion shine." When it was finally his turn to perform, Robert stepped onto the stage, the bright lights blinding him momentarily. He took a deep breath, reminding himself of all he had overcome. As he began to play, he poured every ounce of emotion into the music, sharing a piece of his soul with the audience. Despite the initial nerves, something shifted within him. With each note, he felt a wave of empowerment wash over him. The audience responded with enthusiasm, and when he finished, the room erupted into applause. Chapter 5. A Critical Turning Point. After the audition, the anticipation for the results felt almost unbearable. Days passed, and Robert's anxiety mounted as he awaited feedback. When the call finally came, he felt his heart race. "Congratulations, Robert. You've made it to the next round," the producer exclaimed. However, The thrill of success quickly gave way to an unforeseen challenge. The next round involved performing in front of a live television audience, a much larger crowd than he was used to. Anxiety gnawed at him. Would the audience accept him? Would they see him as just another black artist in country music, or would they embrace the uniqueness he brought? The pressure was immense. As the competition progressed, Robert noticed that some of his fellow contestants seemed to carry an air of confidence that he struggled to find within himself. Each time he stepped onto the stage, he felt the weight of their expectations and the judgments that came with being different. Despite the fears, Robert was determined to continue. He drew strength from the memories of his journey, the laughter, the rejection, the moments that had led him to this point. He leaned on his support system, reaching out to Henry and his growing fan base for encouragement. "Remember who you are, Robert," Henry advised during a late-night rehearsal. "You're not just competing, you're changing the narrative. You have a voice that needs to be heard." With those words ringing in his ears, Robert decided to take risks during his performances, infusing his personal style into traditional country songs. He showcased his unique blend of soulful melodies and heartfelt storytelling, captivating audiences and judges alike. Chapter 6. The Final. As the competition neared its climax, the atmosphere became electric. The pressure had intensified, but so had the support from his newfound fans. The night of the final arrived, and Robert felt an exhilarating mix of nerves and excitement. The theater was packed, the audience buzzing with anticipation. Robert took a moment backstage to breathe, reflecting on the incredible journey he had embarked on. This was more than just a competition. It was a celebration of resilience, diversity, and the power of music to transcend boundaries. When it was finally time for his performance, he stepped onto the stage, the bright lights illuminating his face. As he stood there, the sea of faces before him became a blur. All he could focus on was the music, the message, and the opportunity to share his story one more time. He launched into a powerful rendition of his ballad, pouring his heart into every lyric. The audience was spellbound, their applause erupting like thunder as he sang. For that moment, Robert felt invincible, standing on the precipice of his dreams. As the final note faded, the audience erupted into cheers. He stood there, tears of joy streaming down his face as he took in the overwhelming support. He knew he had made it. Whether he won the competition or not, he had already won in ways that mattered most. With the spotlight shining on him, Robert realized that he had transformed from a boy who had been laughed off stage to a man who had captured hearts across the country. This journey was not just his own. It was a testament to everyone who had ever felt marginalized or unheard. As he bowed to the audience, Robert knew that this was just the beginning. He was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, fueled by a passion for music and the unwavering belief that dreams could be achieved, against all odds. The Rise to Fame. Chapter 1. The Aftermath of the Competition. With the final behind him, Robert found himself on a roller coaster of emotions. The show's climax had brought a wave of attention that he had only dreamt of. As he stepped off the stage, he was met by a throng of reporters and fans eager for interviews and autographs. It was overwhelming, but in the midst of it all, Robert felt a sense of pride swell within him. "Robert, how does it feel to be the first black artist in this competition?" One reporter shouted, the camera flashes illuminating his face. Robert paused, the question resonating deeply within him. He had never thought of himself solely as a representative of a race. He was an artist, a storyteller. "It feels incredible, but it's more than just a title for me," he replied, his voice steady. "I hope to inspire others to pursue their dreams, no matter their background. We all have a story to tell." The responses were overwhelming, with social media flooded by hashtags celebrating his performance and the diversity he brought to the competition. But with this newfound fame came pressure, expectations, and the inevitable scrutiny that accompanies public life. As Robert navigated this whirlwind, he often turned to Henry for guidance. "Fame can be a double-edged sword," Henry warned during one of their weekly meetings. It will open doors, but you'll also face challenges. Stay true to yourself and remember why you started this journey. Chapter 2. Embracing the Spotlight. Robert quickly learned that the music industry could be as unforgiving as it was glamorous. He began to receive offers for record deals, appearances, and collaborations. He felt like he was being swept away in a current, but with Henry's steady influence, he learned to navigate these waters. His first major collaboration was with an established country artist who had seen Robert's potential during the competition. The two spent weeks working together, blending their styles and experimenting with new sounds. Robert relished the creative freedom he was given. "This is my chance to redefine what country music can be," he thought, embracing the challenge. As they recorded, Robert infused elements of soul, R&B, and even hip-hop into his music, creating a unique sound that began to attract a diverse audience. The buzz surrounding his album grew, and soon it was time for its official release. The anticipation reached a fever pitch, with fans eagerly awaiting a taste of his fresh perspective on country music. Chapter 3. The Album Release. On the day of the album release, the atmosphere was electric. The record label organized a launch event at a prominent venue, inviting media, influencers, and fans to celebrate. Robert arrived, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. The reality of his dreams was unfolding before him, but he also felt the weight of expectation bearing down. As he took the stage, he was met with roaring applause. "Thank you for being here today. This album is not just a collection of songs. It's a reflection of my journey, my struggles, and my triumphs," he said, his voice echoing through the venue. "I hope it resonates with you, no matter where you come from." The audience listened intently as Robert performed his new songs, each one steeped in authenticity and emotion. The crowd was captivated, their cheers and applause reinforcing the belief that he belonged in this space. As he played his centerpiece ballad, the one that had become an anthem of resilience, he noticed tears in the eyes of some audience members. This moment, he realized, was about more than just music. It was about connection, healing, and hope. Chapter 4. Facing the Critics. However, not everyone was pleased with Robert's success. As his popularity soared, so did criticism from some who felt threatened by his rise. Online trolls targeted him, spouting hateful comments that questioned his authenticity and place in the country genre. "This isn't real country music," one commenter wrote, while another suggested that he should stick to R&B. At first, Robert tried to brush off the negativity, but as it continued, the comments began to seep into his mind. He found himself doubting his choices and wondering if he was truly deserving of the accolades he received. Late at night, he would scroll through social media, his heart sinking with every disparaging remark. Henry noticed the change in Robert. "You need to focus on the positive," he advised during one of their discussions. "You have a responsibility to your audience, to those who see themselves in you. Don't let the negativity overshadow the love and support you've built." Determined not to let the critics define him, Robert took Henry's words to heart. He began to engage with his fans more on social media, sharing his experiences and emphasizing the importance of mental health. "We all face adversity, and it's okay to feel hurt or frustrated," he posted. "But we can't let that stop us from pursuing our dreams." Chapter 5. A Tour to Remember. With his album gaining traction, Robert announced his first national tour. It was a monumental step, and the excitement among his fans was palpable. He was ready to share his music with the world, but he was also acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead. As the tour kicked off, Robert found himself in a whirlwind of performances, interviews, and meet and greets. The adrenaline was intoxicating, and with each show, he felt more connected to his audience. His concerts were filled with energy and emotion, transforming venues into spaces of unity and celebration. But touring was not without its challenges. The demands of being on the road took a toll on Robert, both physically and emotionally. He often found himself longing for the quiet moments at home, the simplicity of strumming his guitar in his bedroom. One night, after a particularly exhausting show, Robert found himself staring out at the city lights from his hotel room. Doubts crept back in, and he wondered if he could continue to sustain this pace. But then he remembered the faces of the fans who sang along, their voices melding with his, creating a beautiful chorus of shared experience. "Tomorrow, I'll wake up and do it all again," he whispered to himself, grounding his thoughts in gratitude. He had come too far to give up now. Chapter 6. Bridging the Gap. As the tour progressed, Robert recognized an opportunity to use his platform for greater good. He began to incorporate discussions about diversity and inclusion into his concerts, encouraging fans to engage in conversations about representation in music and society. After one performance in a predominantly white town, he held a Q&A session, inviting audience members to share their thoughts on race and music. To his surprise, many were eager to engage, and the dialogue became a powerful exchange of ideas. Robert found himself inspired by the stories shared, realizing that even in spaces where he had once felt marginalized, change was possible. His commitment to advocacy extended beyond the stage. Robert began collaborating with organizations that supported underrepresented musicians, creating mentorship programs and workshops designed to empower aspiring artists from diverse backgrounds. "I want to ensure that others have the opportunity to pursue their dreams, just like I did," he told a gathering of young musicians. "It's not just about me. It's about all of us. Let's uplift each other." Chapter 7. The Power of Community. By the time the tour reached its final, Robert had amassed a loyal following that extended far beyond the confines of the country music scene. Fans from all walks of life came together to celebrate their shared love of music and their belief in inclusion. At the final concert, the energy was electric. Robert took the stage, looking out at the sea of faces, each one representing a story, a journey. As he began to sing, he felt an overwhelming sense of belonging wash over him. This was his community, and they had all come together to embrace the power of music. After the show, Robert took a moment to soak it all in, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. As he left the stage, he was met by a crowd of fans, all eager to share their appreciation. Tears of joy streamed down his face as he hugged each person who approached him. "I never thought I'd see someone like you on this stage," one young woman said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You've inspired me to chase my own dreams." Robert felt a warmth in his heart, knowing that he had made a difference. "Thank you for believing in me," he replied, his voice filled with sincerity. "Together, we can break down barriers and redefine what it means to be an artist in this genre." Chapter 8. Looking Ahead. As the tour came to a close, Robert reflected on the incredible journey he had undertaken. From being laughed off stage to headlining sold-out arenas, he had transformed his pain into power and embraced his identity as a black musician in country music. With Henry's guidance and the support of his fans, Robert was ready to take on new challenges. He began writing for his next album, eager to explore new sounds and themes while continuing to advocate for inclusivity in the industry. The laughter that had once echoed in his ears had been replaced by applause and encouragement. Robert Turner was no longer just a name. He was a symbol of resilience, a voice for the unheard, and a beacon of hope for aspiring artists everywhere. As he prepared for the next chapter of his career, Robert knew that the road ahead would be filled with both challenges and triumphs. But with every strum of his guitar and every note he sang, he was committed to breaking barriers and changing the narrative, one song at a time. Beyond the Stage. Chapter 1. Life after the tour. After an exhilarating tour that felt like a whirlwind of emotions, Robert found himself navigating a new reality. His album had received acclaim, and he was now a recognized figure in the country music industry. But with that recognition came a different kind of pressure. Robert had to adapt to the expectations of being a public figure, learning to balance his newfound fame with his authentic self. At first, he reveled in the attention. Media interviews poured in, and he found himself featured on magazine covers, with stories highlighting his rise from adversity. While he cherished these moments, Robert also felt an underlying anxiety. With success came a nagging fear that he would be judged not only for his music, but also for his identity. "Remember, the spotlight can be a harsh teacher," Henry reminded him during their regular check-ins, "but it can also be a platform for change. Use it wisely." Determined to embrace this responsibility, Robert decided to focus on more than just music. He envisioned a series of initiatives aimed at uplifting aspiring artists, particularly those from marginalized backgrounds. With Henry's help, he began planning workshops that would teach the business side of the music industry while encouraging creativity. Chapter 2: Building the Foundation. With a vision in mind, Robert established a foundation dedicated to nurturing talent in underrepresented communities. The foundation's mission was clear: to provide resources, mentorship, and opportunities for young musicians who faced barriers in pursuing their dreams. He organized a launch event to introduce the foundation to the public, inviting industry professionals, artists, and community leaders. The atmosphere was charged with excitement as Robert stood before the crowd, sharing his journey and the motivation behind the foundation. "This isn't just about me. It's about all of us," he stated passionately. "Music has the power to heal, to connect, and to change lives. I want to ensure that no aspiring artist feels alone or unsupported on their journey." The event was a resounding success, drawing in both media attention and community support. Donations flooded in, and partnerships were formed with local schools and music programs, ensuring that Robert's vision could become a reality. Chapter 3: The workshops begin. With funding secured, Robert launched a series of workshops across the country. Each event was designed to be immersive, combining practical lessons about songwriting, recording, and performance with discussions about the challenges faced by artists of color in the music industry. The first workshop took place in a community center in his hometown, a place that held both nostalgia and significance for Robert. As he walked through the familiar halls, he felt a mix of emotions. This was where his love for music had blossomed, and now he was returning to give back. Young musicians gathered, eyes bright with anticipation. Robert opened the session by sharing his story, recounting his journey from being laughed off stage to selling out arenas. "You may face obstacles, but don't let them define you," he urged. "Let your passion fuel you. Your voice matters, and the world needs to hear it." Participants were encouraged to share their own experiences, and the room filled with a sense of camaraderie. They wrote songs, collaborated, and supported each other, creating a nurturing environment that mirrored the one Robert had longed for during his early years. Chapter 4: Facing New Challenges. However, the path was not without its difficulties. As the foundation gained momentum, Robert found himself dealing with skepticism from industry insiders who doubted the viability of his initiative. Some criticized him for focusing on social issues rather than simply making music. "I thought you were a musician, not a charity worker," one prominent figure remarked during a meeting. Robert listened but remained steadfast. "Music is more than just a product. It's a movement," he replied, his conviction unwavering. "We can't ignore the systemic issues that affect artists. If I have the platform to create change, then I will." Yet with each challenge, Robert grew more resilient. He gathered a team of passionate individuals who believed in the foundation's mission and worked tirelessly to organize events and outreach programs. The more they connected with young artists, the more Robert realized the profound impact they were making. Chapter 5: The Power of Community Engagement. As the workshops expanded, Robert began collaborating with local schools, creating music programs that integrated music education into the curriculum. He worked closely with teachers to ensure that students had access to instruments and resources that would foster their creativity. In one high school, he witnessed the transformative power of music firsthand. During a visit to a music class, he sat in on a session where students were encouraged to express their emotions through songwriting. The room was filled with laughter, tears, and raw honesty, as students shared their stories. After the session, Robert pulled aside a shy girl named Maya, who had written a poignant song about her struggles with identity. "You have a gift, Maya," he said, his eyes shining with encouragement. "Don't ever stop sharing your voice. It's powerful." Maya's face lit up with joy, and Robert knew he had made a difference, however small. Moments like these fueled his passion, reminding him of the importance of his work. Chapter 6. Breaking Barriers Through Music. With the foundation thriving, Robert decided to organize a benefit concert featuring diverse artists from various genres. The concert aimed to raise funds for the foundation while celebrating the power of music to unite people from all walks of life. As the concert approached, excitement built within the community. Local musicians, some of whom had participated in Robert's workshops, began preparing to perform alongside established artists. The lineup included artists who had also faced adversity, each with a unique story to tell. On the night of the concert, the atmosphere was electric. The venue buzzed with anticipation as attendees filled the seats. Robert opened the show, pouring his heart into a performance that resonated deeply with the audience. "This is a celebration of our stories, our journeys," he declared. "Together, we can break barriers and redefine the music industry." Throughout the evening, performers shared their songs and stories, highlighting the diverse backgrounds and experiences that shaped their art. The concert served not only as a fundraiser, but as a platform for underrepresented voices to be heard. Chapter 7. Recognition and Impact. The benefit concert was a resounding success, raising significant funds for the foundation. Local media covered the event, and Robert found himself at the center of attention once again. But this time, it wasn't just about him. It was about the collective impact they had made as a community. In the weeks following the concert, Robert received invitations to speak at conferences and panels about diversity in music. He became an advocate for change, using his voice to address systemic issues within the industry. During one particularly impactful panel discussion, Robert shared the stage with industry veterans and emerging artists, each bringing their unique perspectives. As they discussed the importance of representation and inclusion, Robert felt a renewed sense of purpose. "Music has the power to transcend boundaries," he stated passionately. "It can challenge stereotypes, foster understanding, and create connections. We need to ensure that everyone has a seat at the table." Chapter 8. A New Album and Legacy. Amidst his advocacy work, Robert continued to create music. He poured his experiences, challenges, and triumphs into his next album, a project that would further solidify his place in the industry while reflecting his journey. The album featured collaborations with various artists, blending different genres to create a sound that celebrated diversity. As he wrote, Robert found himself reflecting on the lessons he had learned since his early days. He realized that his music was not just about his own experiences. It was a collective narrative that encompassed the voices of many. With the album nearing completion, Robert planned a release party that would also serve as a fundraiser for his foundation. He envisioned a night filled with music, storytelling, and community, a true celebration of the journey they had all embarked upon together. Chapter 9. The Release Party. On the night of the release party, the atmosphere was filled with excitement. Friends, family, and supporters gathered to celebrate not only Robert's music, but the collective impact they had made. As he took the stage, he looked out at the faces that had supported him through every challenge. "Thank you for believing in me," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "This album is for all of you, those who have shared their stories, faced adversity, and dared to dream." As he performed the new songs, the audience sang along, a powerful reminder of the connections forged through music. With each note, Robert felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. He had come full circle, transforming his pain into purpose. Chapter 10. Looking to the future. With the release of his album, Robert Turner solidified his place in the music industry as a trailblazer. He continued to advocate for diversity and representation, while nurturing young talent through his foundation. Reflecting on his journey, Robert recognized that he had not only achieved his dreams, but had also inspired others to pursue theirs. He had turned ridicule into applause, creating a legacy that would resonate for generations to come. As he prepared for the next chapter of his career, Robert knew that the road ahead would still be filled with challenges. But with each song he wrote and every artist he mentored, he was committed to breaking barriers and redefining what it meant to be a musician in a world that was ever evolving. "I am not just a musician," Robert said during one of his interviews. "I am a storyteller, a bridge builder, and a champion for those who dare to dream. Together, we can change the world, one song at a time." A Symphony of Change. Chapter 1. The Legacy Continues. With his new album soaring up the charts, Robert Turner found himself reflecting on his journey in a way he had never expected. He stood at the intersection of art and activism, and it was here that he began to feel the weight of his influence. Gone were the days of self-doubt and ridicule. Now, Robert embraced his role as a leader in the industry, someone who could inspire change through music. As he toured to promote his album, Robert made a conscious decision to share the stage with emerging artists from diverse backgrounds. Each concert became an opportunity to showcase talent that often went unnoticed. He believed that every artist had a story worth telling, and he was determined to give them a platform. "Together, we can amplify our voices," Robert told the audience at a concert in Atlanta, where he performed alongside a group of young, diverse artists. "Music is not just about entertainment. It's a movement that can change lives." Chapter 2. Bridging the Gap. In addition to touring, Robert collaborated with Henry to create an annual music festival called Harmony Fest. The event was designed to celebrate diversity in music while providing a platform for young artists to perform. They envisioned a day filled with workshops, panel discussions, and performances that would unite people from different backgrounds and musical genres. As they planned the festival, Robert reached out to artists he admired, hoping to foster connections that would inspire both attendees and performers. His dream was for Harmony Fest to serve as a microcosm of the change he wanted to see in the industry, a place where talent could shine and barriers could crumble. When the day of the festival finally arrived, the atmosphere was electric. Thousands gathered in a sprawling park, a colorful tapestry of culture and creativity. The stage was set, adorned with flags representing various music genres and cultures. Robert felt a surge of gratitude as he looked out at the diverse crowd. "Today, we celebrate each other," he shouted into the microphone, the sound of cheers echoing back at him. "We're here to remind the world that music is for everyone." Chapter 3. Uniting Communities Through Music. Throughout the day, attendees participated in workshops led by industry veterans and rising stars. These sessions focused on various aspects of music, including songwriting, production, and the business side of the industry. Robert joined several discussions, sharing his insights and encouraging participants to pursue their passions fearlessly. In one workshop, a young girl named Samira spoke up. "I want to write music that tells my story, but I'm afraid no one will listen," she admitted, her voice trembling. Robert approached her gently. "Your story matters, Samira. Don't ever underestimate the power of your voice. You might be surprised at how many people resonate with what you have to say." Samira's eyes lit up, and Robert could see the spark of inspiration ignite within her. That interaction resonated deeply with him. It was moments like these that fueled his passion for mentorship and community engagement. Chapter 4. The Power of Representation. As Harmony Fest continued, the lineup of artists showcased the rich diversity of musical styles. From hip-hop to folk, each performance contributed to a vibrant tapestry of sounds. Robert took the stage multiple times, performing his hits alongside collaborations with various artists, each representing different musical genres and backgrounds. During one emotional set, he invited a talented singer named Louis, who had recently fled political unrest in his home country. Together, they performed a heart-wrenching song about resilience and hope. The crowd erupted in applause, but the moment was deeper than mere appreciation. It symbolized the power of music to unite individuals from disparate backgrounds, bridging gaps that society often tries to widen. "I never imagined I'd be standing here, sharing my story with you all," Lewis said, tears glistening in his eyes as he addressed the crowd. "Thank you, Robert, for believing in me." Chapter 5. The Ripple Effect. By the end of the festival, Robert realized that they had created something truly special. Attendees were exchanging contact information, promising to collaborate, and forming connections that would extend beyond the event. The spirit of the festival inspired many to think critically about their roles in the music industry and how they could contribute to its evolution. As they wrapped up the festival, Robert took a moment to reflect on the journey that had led him to this point. The young boy who had once been laughed off the stage was now a catalyst for change. He had transformed his pain into purpose, creating a legacy that would inspire future generations of artists. Chapter 6. Embracing New Challenges. However, the road ahead was not without challenges. As Robert's platform grew, he faced increasing scrutiny from critics who questioned his motivations. Some argued that his focus on diversity and social issues was diverting attention from the music itself. "Why do you always have to make it about race?" one critic wrote in an article. "Music should be about talent, not identity." Robert took a deep breath, knowing that these criticisms stemmed from a lack of understanding. He believed that art was intrinsically tied to identity. It was impossible to separate the two. "Music is a reflection of who we are," he replied in an interview. "Ignoring the struggles that come with identity only perpetuates the divide." His commitment to advocating for diversity in the industry only strengthened. He used the criticism as motivation, determined to show the world that art could be both a personal expression and a vehicle for social change. Chapter 7. The Next Chapter. Inspired by the success of Harmony Fest, Robert began writing a new album that would serve as a celebration of the stories he had encountered along the way. He envisioned a collection of songs that reflected the experiences of the artists he had mentored, weaving their narratives into his music. Robert spent countless hours in the studio, collaborating with various artists to capture the essence of their stories. The process was cathartic, allowing him to delve deeper into the themes of resilience, hope, and unity. He felt a renewed sense of purpose as he poured his heart into each song, recognizing the power of music to heal and uplift. Chapter 8. Bringing the Community Together. Once the album was complete, Robert decided to host a listening party that would bring together the artists he had collaborated with and the community that had supported him throughout his journey. He wanted the event to be a celebration of unity, showcasing the diversity of voices that had shaped his music. As guests arrived at the venue, the air was filled with excitement. Robert took a moment to greet everyone, expressing his gratitude for their support. "This album is not just mine. It belongs to all of you," he said, his voice filled with emotion. The listening party featured live performances of the new songs, interspersed with stories from the artists. Each narrative added depth to the music, creating a rich tapestry of shared experiences. Robert felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that he had played a part in amplifying their voices. Chapter 9. Building Bridges, Not Walls. In the months that followed, Robert's album gained traction, and he began receiving invitations to speak at conferences and panels on diversity in the arts. He used these opportunities to advocate for the importance of representation and the need for systemic change within the music industry. "Art is a bridge that connects us all," he would often say during his speeches. "When we lift each other up, we create a world where every voice matters." Robert's message resonated with many, and he soon found himself at the forefront of a movement advocating for change in the industry. His dedication to mentorship and community engagement inspired others to create similar initiatives, leading to a ripple effect that began to reshape the music landscape. Chapter 10. The Symphony of Change. As the years passed, Robert Turner became more than just a musician. He became a symbol of hope for countless aspiring artists. His story inspired a generation to believe in their dreams, regardless of the challenges they faced. His foundation flourished, expanding its reach to include international programs that supported young musicians in underserved communities worldwide. Robert traveled to various countries, sharing his story and collaborating with local artists, further solidifying the idea that music knows no boundaries. Finally, after years of hard work and dedication, Robert stood on the stage at a prestigious award ceremony, his heart pounding with anticipation. As he accepted the award for Best Album of the Year, he felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over him. This award is a testament to the power of community, resilience, and the unbreakable spirit of artists everywhere, he said, tears glistening in his eyes. Together, we can change the world, one note at a time. With that, Robert Turner cemented his legacy, proving that through perseverance, passion, and a commitment to uplift others, one could turn ridicule into applause, transforming the music industry for generations to come.